results are always the same.
So while you've been there for 40 years, can we talk I know you've talked about this before, but just a little bit, can you shine some light on these serial offenders that you have watched? And one of the things that you explained is, you see them at a table, playing cards, swapping serial killer cards and stories and stuff like that. My audience, they can't believe that. So can you shine some light on that?
Well, sure. Serial killers, as I've talked about, are not going to change. They are who they are. That's who they are by nature. I know there's a lot of people are going to say, well, no, it's more nurture than nature. Look, I understand where you guys get that from. I understand that a lot of psychologists say it's true. Well, if it wasn't, they wouldn't have a job. I'm not getting paid for all this stuff. I have observed these men. I've talked to these men. I've shared stories purposely to get them to talk. And they giggle. They laugh. They get very aroused. And they get very excited talking about the killings and what it did for them. And to further that, they have these clubs. They swap little cards. They actually have cards of themselves. It's a picture of themselves. And the back of the card is no different than a baseball card. It says John Blow, whatever, and it says how many kills, how he killed, was it rape, strangulation, etc. And below it has the victims' names. Some of them, they have so many victims, you can't put it all on one card.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
They have their signature on it, and they swap these cards. Hell, I have a card. Okay? They're going to be shown the book that I wrote through the lens of a monster. I've been able to acquire one, which is almost unheard of because these guys keep their stuff very close, and they only share it with other serial killers. All right, Ken.
So very interesting thoughts on some serial killing observations. Do you have anything else to add to that? How are they treated out on the yard? Are they with their own little crew? They ain't got nothing to worry about because they're in protective custody, or is that different?
Yeah, they're in protective custody, so they have really not a lot to worry about unless they personally assault somebody or personally disrespect somebody that does something to them. But they're on a protective custody yard. On death row in East Block, it's yard 4 and yard 7. Now, as I mentioned before, I was assigned to yard 7 as an IGAP worker where the serial killers are at because the warden needed someone to care for them. I took classes for CPR, for caring of the elderly, and once I got my certificate, they placed me out there to care for them. And that's how I got really the inside scoop because I was among them. And that gave me an advantage. Normally, I go to a normal yard, yard 6. I was on yard 1 before that. And these are huge yards with a lot of killers. And look, I'll tell you how things can be on the death row, how they change so quickly. On yard 4, one of the serial killers, is Charles Ning, the guy who killed all those people, including throwing a baby in a microwave. He was out there one day, and they made a mistake. They opened the wrong gate. And a regular convict from yard 3 stepped out onto yard 4. Within 2 seconds, he had rushed across the yard, got Charles Ng, and stabbed him twice. That's how much convicts hate serial killers. They will do anything they can, and if they get a chance, they will try and kill them.
Let me talk about the serial offenders. They're in protective custody. So the only people they have to fear really is themselves. Is that even an option? I mean, will serial killers attack other serial killers out on the yard, or is it they just get along?
No, most serial killers, and I'm sorry about that microphone.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
There's not a whole lot I can do with the microphone today, but serial killers, for the most part, in prison are probably the most well-behaved people. They don't get in trouble. They don't attack anybody because, like I said, they only attack when they're the person in charge. For the most part, they're cowards. They're not going to do anything. And everybody knows this. They are sexual deviants. They are people with these psychological issues that need gratification. that gratification is not enclosed in what you would think a convict would do, or they don't have those needs. These predators are only insects. They're predators to people they can completely dominate, that they can go into a house at night, rape, pillage, whatever. They're not going to do that in prison, because in prison, there's a whole different, the food chain is totally different. They're at the very bottom of the food chain. Serial killers, child molesters, rapists, that's all one bottom sludge pool.
But they do seem to get along with each other, or are there some, just like in regular society, where they're kind of standoffish, they don't talk to anybody? But the way I'm hearing it described from you is almost like it's like a picnic for them. They can just all sit around at the table and shoot the shit.
Yeah, for the most part. There's a couple of them that don't talk to other ones. They don't like to associate. They think themselves to be better than them.
Can you name any of them?
But for the most, sure. Joseph Nace was one. He doesn't speak to anybody.
Okay.
He calls other serial killers morons, idiots, and he thinks he's superior to all of them. There's also Randy Kraft, the scorecard killer. He doesn't talk to many people. I've talked to him. He was my neighbor for a number of years, and it took me a decade and a half to get him to talk to me. But most people don't talk. And when I mean talk, I mean share. I mean tell me things about himself. Sure, he said hello for the first decade, but it took a while for him to start speaking to me. Of course, now that the cat is out of the bag, they know who I am now, or at least they will pretty soon. If any of their followers or friends tell them, hey, there's a guy named Bill Noguera, he's giving up all your secrets on the internet. So, hey, the cat is out of the bag. And that's okay. I've learned enough and I know enough that I can play their game as well or better than they, and that helps the public. That helps society. That's why I always end my episodes of Death Row Diaries with, be safe. Be aware of your surroundings. Your life can depend on it. And I mean exactly that.